CL position on fee at the point of extraction, isn't that still pertaining to the point of import for product coming into this country?
That's right.
Okay.
Right. Yeah.
So this is, the tax is imposed when it's taken out of the ground,
When it first enters the U.S. economy.
not when it is,
When it-
because, you know, because a lump of coal doesn't produce.
That's right. No,
any
you
carbon
are not,
dioxide.
none of this is taxed. Shell oil is taxed.
Yeah.
So some additional features of 763. The rate of tax increase goes up after a few years if emission targets are not met, so it'll start at $15 a ton. There's an exemption for agricultural fuel and military fuel. And this is because even we here in our hearings in the local area found that farmers would suffer under the pure carbon fee and dividend because of their fuel needs. And what is returned to them as an individual family is not enough for their business. Okay. So that's an adjustment that's been made. There's,
Mary, are we on the next slide?
oh, yeah, we're on some additional components, sorry.
Oops. Oh, add $10 per ton each year was just now showing,
Okay, let me go.
and now we're on the next slide.
So we go from the pictograph to the next one, which is some additional
Yes.
components. Yeah, sorry. There's a rebate for carbon capture and storage, and that actually is based on input that we and other groups were hearing from farmers who are already doing, for example, doing no-till and minimum till, and they wonder, well, is there a way that we can benefit from carbon capture? I'm moving a little bit more quickly, but I do want to answer questions if you have them. The way that the fee would be collected, done by the IRS, which already collects excise taxes on oil and coal. And as I said, there are actually relatively few companies that the IRS would need to deal with because when you consider conglomerates, there really aren't all that many in the country that need to be kept track of. And the dividend checks or credits are issued monthly by and large. For example, a household of 4 in 10 years is projected through modeling to benefit about $3,500, $3,750 above what they will have had to use to compensate for higher fuel costs. Additionally, the greatest benefit will go to the lowest income houses because they tend to live more lightly in terms of their own carbon footprints. So it actually is considered to be an approach which is supportive of low-income communities rather than taxing.
But everybody gets the same amount?
Everybody gets the
just
same
that they
amount.
benefit more
Let's say
because of the
$40 a month per individual, and it's going to be the same for me as it is for Warren, what's his name? That really is the question.
But it means a lot more to you.
But it means a lot more to me.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So how and why were dividend checks decided to be sent out monthly rather than quarterly or semi-annually or something like that?
Monthly is the most recent thinking, and I think one of the major reasons is that it's almost as easy to do for the IRS, because everybody is already in the system.
Plus, it would be easier to see,
Yeah.
you know, that you're getting this.
Exactly.
And
It's a motivational thing.
yeah.
And one of the features of this act is that the dividends actually start a month before the fee is enacted. So people start to see the benefit almost immediately, and then it's built into the system for the first 2 years to pay back that initial month.
So you're expecting for every person in the country to get $40 a month, how much is collected every month in your estimation? And if there's a lot of checks, so that's a big expense to do every single month. That seems to be defeating the purpose. We're using paper, sending out.
I think it's
Well, you
more,
can get, actually, couldn't you, like,
Direct
you can get your
deposit.
check.
so it'll be, it's more likely to be direct deposit.
Although, for, you know, for poorer people who may not have bank accounts,
Yeah.
I mean, that really.
They'll be an alternative for people.
And they have
who
to be
can
able to
pay.
catch those checks without notice.
The administrative fee, and I can't tell you, Karen, what the total input will be, because it's obviously will change every year in terms of billions of dollars, but, I just lost my train of thought. Maybe I'll come back to that.
Managing it and.
Oh, yeah, so the administration starts at 7% of the total income from the fee will go to administration the first year, and as the system gets going, it'll drop down to between 2 and 3% per year. So the bottom line really is here, and that is, based on modeling, this represents, and this is rapid US,
Yeah, got it.
is the reduction of emissions. Based on the response of US industries to the tax, within 10 years, 31% reduction of greenhouse gases, and within 20 years, 50%. And that's dramatic. And it could happen as soon as this bill is enacted. This figure right here is 2015. Well, it's too late for that, so we're going to have to shift it all forward. But once it starts, you see how rapid this reduction is.
Next slide.
Next slide, please. So my argument for this act is that it's effective in achieving our primary goal, which is to reduce greenhouse gases. It is good for people because not only will it clean the air of greenhouse gases, it will improve people's health. It'll reduce pollution. It's good for the economy. The studies show that it will create over 2 million jobs over the next 10 years because the green economy will be burgeoning. And it is revenue neutral. That is, we don't call it a tax. You can call it a tax if you want to, but it is not money that the government can spend. And this is one of the, again, a difficult point, I think, for a lot of people to accept that that money will be protected. For example, we know what has happened to other funds. You might think about the Alaska Permanent Fund, which was established to pay every Alaskan dividends from the oil monies, okay? It cannot be touched because the people care so much about those dividends. Those dividends are so important to Alaskans that they again and again have fought off the attempts of the Alaskan government to siphon off just a little bit of money to do this or to do that. So the political fallout of siphoning off this money from this trust fund would be politically probably disastrous. Yeah.
Is there a way in this, since every household is getting money back, is there some kind of built-in thing where you can say, I don't want to collect that money, I want it to go to infrastructure? Because otherwise, my $40 going to infrastructure isn't going to mean anything unless there's a whole group doing it.
There isn't in the current bill. I think one of the points of this bill is to keep things as simple as possible and to make things so that you can't pick it apart because this is happening or this is happening or this is happening. It makes lots of sense, and I think we should all form groups with our friends to do that.
Excellent.
There's no economic case against the carbon fee and dividend, according to the economists that we've looked at. Next slide, please. So, revenue neutral carbon pricing can appeal to the average person, conservatives and liberals. It works on the principles of free enterprise and innovation. I wanted to mention, because this is a bipartisan bill, how many groups are supporting this basic concept of carbon fee and dividend. And I would point out, for example, the third group down, the Climate Leadership Council is led by Robert Schultz, former Secretary of State and Treasury. It is a conservative group which is promoting carbon fee and dividend just as Citizens Climate Lobby is. It also includes, you notice, a number of student groups. Princeton, the Sierra Student Coalition. Students really care. about this. And Republic N, third from the bottom, is a Republican group working for the same principles of carbon fee and dividend. Major groups like the Environmental Defense Fund. So it is, a lot of groups are embracing this concept. Other groups are saying, this would be fine, but let's do more. We have to do more. We have to transform our behavior. And having just a carbon fee is not going to do it. But it's going to get us to that, to a point where we can actually work on the
Get you on the road.
It'll get us on the road, okay. Let's say, what do these things have in common?
These four things, we couldn't imagine living without them, or you know, or
Slavery.
they were,
Yeah.
the slippery slope that.
Right, yeah. These are things that were intractable problems that we dealt with. And we dealt with them as individuals and as communities. Who fought against these reforms? Tobacco use, cars without seatbelts.
People who were
They
benefiting
haven't gotten any smaller.
financially from
They're,
those.
the list has,
They're just as big as they ever were. They're
right,
producing even more stuff. They don't, you know, the deal that they made with the states ends up being a finite amount of money. You gotta have your kids out there still playing with this mess when we've got, how much data do you want to show that this is the worst thing you could probably do for your health?
what,
And yet-
climate change?
Or what?
No, tobacco use.
Tobacco use, yeah, right.
Well, but, you know, you don't smoke on airplanes. You don't smoke in restaurants, you know, and even people who smoke, very often don't smoke in their houses.
Right, they have to go outside.
I didn't realize that this clock is not right. The bell just rang and that was 1 o'clock, but do you have a couple more, any more slides?
One more slide.
One more?
What's your action plan? You. Act locally, act globally, advocate for an effective policy. I give handouts there. We have one handout actually that talks specifically about the
The act itself.
The act itself, and you're welcome to take a piece of that. If you would like to join Citizens Climate Lobby, we've got a sign-up sheet there. We meet twice a month. We would welcome your involvement. We also are having a conference coming up in later April. And the information about that, Kathy, if you could just sort of leave that on the, it's the one with sort of a green thing about the conference.
There it is, right
Yeah,
there.
so if you're interested, we have a conference coming up, and a wonderful speaker, Stephen Gahn, who is